All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'd like to discuss grimoires. Some of my favorite grimoires, to be precise, things that I work with quite heavily, but more so things that would benefit the practitioner knowledge wise. Now, we've all heard of the Grand Grimoire. All right. This is just a simple, small little pamphlet. It's got a lot of spells. It talks a little bit about the demons, you know, but most importantly, it talks about conjurations of certain deities like Lucifer's Raphael. Okay, Lucifer's Raphael is the ancient scribe. He is the ancient pact maker within the infernal hierarchy. And he is very, very loyal to Lucifer. Okay. It is said that he actually reports directly to Lucifer. Okay. Not to Beelzebub, not to Astaroth, but to Lucifer himself. Okay. They are true brothers. Okay. And when working with this, there's also another grimoire that I want to talk about here a little bit as well. And it's called the Grand Grimoire Red Dragon. Okay. This is another little pamphlet. Obviously, it's not the full grimoire because that's been broken down into pieces. But unlike the first one, I like this one better, and I'll tell you why. It goes into a lot more information when it comes to working with the beings such as Lucifer, Beelzebub, Astaroth, Lucifer's Raphael, and all the orders that he put in play, okay, after the fall, when they created their own kingdom. Now, there are other grimoires that really do sit well with this, and they go along with this. For an example, the Grimorium Vernum. Now, this one here is both in Latin and Greek, but also English. You kind of got the three in one here. And I really love this book because of the fact that not only does it show the characteristics of the spiritual bodies that are at the top of the food chain, such as Lucifer Raphael being the prime minister. Okay, he's the pact, the scribe, the whole king caboodle. Now, in the Grand Grimoire Red Dragon, it goes into a bunch of detail on how to prepare yourself for the rituals, how to manifest a rod that will control this angelic being, this dragon, okay? Whereas the Grand Grimoire only goes into a small amount, okay? This one here goes into a very, very limited amount of information, especially when dealing with summonings of Lucifer Raphael or creating the true composition of the mysterious wand or destroying rod. Okay. Very limited information on the offerings to be made. All right. But it goes into so many different things, such as the oration to protect oneself from evil spirits, prayer to the omnipotent, and thanksgiving. You know, a lot of different spells, writing packs, stuff like that, to be insatiable to torture, to speak with the spirits on the eye of St. John the Baptist, and such like that. Okay, the secrets to the magic secret or the art of speaking with the dead, known as necromancy, spiritual divination. It's known as chiromancy. Okay, and what I found interesting is a lot of this could also be found in the Constitution of Pope Honorius, but also the Clavicle of Solomon, both major and minor editions. Okay. But when dealing with the Red Dragon, however, which is my more favorite out of both these two books, it literally gives you full access to the ritual. Okay. Not only does it tell you how to prepare your altar, but it prepares you mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay. By fasting, by preparing yourself with a ritual bath and such like that. How to set up the conjuration of Lucifer's Raphael, to make the deal, to make that pact. But it goes into so much more, from the rod to the Kabbalistic circle to summoning through prayer and invocation or evocation Lucifer, going into the various different demonic beings, such as Lucifer's Raphael, the prime minister, Satanisha, the great general, Aguileret, the general, also known as the keeper of the secret tomes, okay? Plurity, lieutenant general, and such, Nibiros, and so forth, going into the 72 goetic demons, or the 74 goetic demons, because I've heard it pronounced both ways, and I've also come across it in both ways. Now, what I found interesting about the Grand Grimoire is that not only does it utilizes the names of God, which is Kabbalah, the Kabbalah aspects, but it also shows you the method of communing with these beings. Okay. Now, personally, I do not like the fact that they think that you have to control a demon by fear, by threatening them. Okay. Which is why when we get to the Grimoire, the Grimorium Vernum, it does speak on the same level as the Grand Grimoire when it comes to summoning Lucifer's Raphael. But what I found interesting about this, though, is that it doesn't really go into threatening him. It's more of the fact that they're showing you how to conjure them, to test them, but more so how they test you as the practitioner. Okay. Now, I want to show you something out of this. Okay. Notice the inscriptions. These are personal sigils. Okay. I like the fact that Joseph H. Peterson took the time to not only write it out or to draw the sigils out so that the practitioners who wish to get into black magic have access to it for each being, but he has literally taken the meanings back to the old ways and not these modern day inscriptions of what they represent. Okay. Now, the second book to this is The True Black Magic, La Veritable Magie Noire. Okay, a classic grimoire. Okay. I really like this one, and I'll tell you why. It's got the planetary sigils and a lot of information just based off what they entail. And the fun thing is, you only have to read the right side. Why? Because the other side's in Greek and Latin mixture. So you only have to read one page at a time. And it comes out like this. Okay. This book here goes into the second pentacle. Okay. The second pentacle of the same nature as that above, the four spirits of the nature of Venus are written around the pentacle. You see, it's not only explaining the dimension, the circle itself and what it's about, but it's also showing you what's involved in it. Okay. For whoever knows how to use it, all matters of love will succeed, being made on the day and the hour of Venus. Okay. Which this also goes along with planetary alignment. And anyone who knows, how should I say this, astrology, numerology, you can really get into it and correlate your rituals with that of the waning and waxing moons. Okay, especially that of the full moons. No matter if it's the hunter's moon, the blood moon, the super moons. Okay, obviously the super moons bring forth a much more open array of energies, whereas a blood moon only occurs every 6 months. Okay. Now, when you get into the planetary aspects, the planetary alignments, the old ways are still always the better when it comes to creating the year, the wheel of the year, the equinoxes and the solstices. When we look at, say, for example, that of Salem, New Hampshire, okay, Stonehenge, out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods, sits a bunch of rocks and a dial tone. Go to the one in England, and you'll see the exact same thing and how it can tell you the time of the year. It's kind of like looking at a tree and knowing automatically that moss always grows on the north side of a tree. Okay, so number one, right there's your north. You can look up at the sky and see the Polaris stars, the north and the south. And then you can go up from there. Look at it from a clock. 12, 3, 6, 9, and 12 again. Okay? The alpha versus the feminine. Okay? Day versus night. And you can do it from the time of the years. And they're very, very awesome. The Secrets of Solomon, however, kind of throws you a little bit of a curveball. Now, not only does it talk about the limit and the pact or pactus, okay, as it's called, the pactus or podus, okay, the offerings and everything involved. But the one thing I noticed between the Grimorium Vernum, that of the True Black Magic, is they substitute Astaroth in one for Alistar. And I found that very, very interesting because of the fact that when we look at, how should I say this? When we look at the two beings and break them down in their characteristics in demonology and angelology, they have two different point of views. Okay? In one hand, Astaroth is the Duchess. She comes from a long line of cross-gender things where she goes all the way back to Astarte. Okay, now Astarte was a harbinger. She was basically a fertility goddess who was made male and slowly became known as Astarte. Now, what's interesting to note here is that Astaroth is associated with witchcraft and black magic. Now, when we get into Alistar, however, Alistar is an executioner. He's an agent of death, much like Samael, the Venom, or that of Abaddon, the Destroyer. Okay, so when we're looking at all this stuff and we're seeing how it unfolds, so in the True Black Magic, he's known as Alistair. In the Grimoire Vernum, he's known as, you got it, Astral. Okay, and their characteristics. But once you get into the secrets of Solomon, it really breaks it down into the entire conformity of what the Grimoire was about, specifically the clavicle of Solomon, the major keys, the lesser keys, the Goetic, the Goetia and such. Now, when we look at this one here, the key of Solomon the King, known as the Clavicula Solomonus. Okay. Now, personally, I like this one. Not because it's talking about God the Father, God the Son, mentioning Jesus Christ, or that of, say, for an example, Yahweh, Jehovah, and stuff like that, but because of how he ends up putting McGregor Mathers literally brings in all of the planetaries from every aspect of the, the lunar cycle. And what's interesting to note is that these things are also known as devil traps, where you can actually summon a demon into the circle, into this trap, and then you can commune with it. This is known as physical appearance. Okay, the apparition transcends the mundane viewpoints within smoke or fire. Okay, whatever element it wishes to come through to manifest itself. And what I found interesting about just these grimoires is the fact that Mathers literally took the time to draw them out, much like Peterson did in his recap of the Clavicle of Solomon. But when you're going through the names, you're going back in through the old names of these beings, like Sergat. Okay, for example, you can go into the Infernal Librarian, Humot or Humet, with an E or an O, depending on the translation, and the era or time frame, the eon of which he is spoken in. Okay, and what's interesting to note here is that within every grimoire that we see, from the Sacred Magic of Abraham Lynn the Mage to Francis Barrett's The Magus, volumes 1 and 2, to that of the Black Raven, the inscriptions or the sigils are always either angelic or demonic. Now, the names of power, such as Yahweh, Allah, or whatever, is just that. It's keywords that will trigger a reply or a response. Okay? And that's basically all that is. It has nothing to do with Christianity. And what I found interesting is while I was going back in through art and history and going into all these grimoires and breaking it down into its purest sense, I found out that in 550 BC, the last Roman emperor not only rejuvenated the church, but gave it full authority to dominate. And I found this really, really interesting because they started out with idolatry. And when we're getting into idolatry, a lot of occultists today, including myself, utilize skulls and bones. Okay, and it's also became associated with secret societies, such as the Order of the Skull and Bones, one that President Bush was supposedly a part of. Okay, or that of the more modern day usage, the Illuminati. Okay, bunch of scammers. A lot of them are. Now, I've seen a lot of things on them alone, but when we look at them, a lot of these people want to join them and to get rich and famous. And it's like, number one, why are you coming to a traditional satanic high priest? Okay, from the Order of the Black Thorn. But they don't understand the difference between the two groups. They're completely different. The Illuminati is associated with the Vatican, not Satanism. Even though a lot of presidents and a lot of bishops have been noted to go from the US into Italy, down into Africa, and down into Antarctica, which goes along with the book of Enoch. Basically, it's the three books of Enoch that explain where the dwelling place under the seven peaks, which is ironic, just south of the only livable city there, which is hilarious. But still, you see the seven peaks in chapter 18, and it's awesome to note how they're traveling through these seven lords, these seven demonic kings, the princes such as Azazel, and those who made the pact with him. But these grimoires here were the ones that I've been studying the most as of late, and really getting into and working with, because of the fact that learning from various different languages, is finding out which one has the most popular or more power when it comes to the reactions of the spirits. And I've noticed that in Greek or Latin, it is very, very, well, let's just say it's a positive feedback. But as I said before, I don't believe in threatening these demons. I don't believe in threatening them, period. I believe more in communing with them and learning from them. But when we learn from them, keep in mind that as apprentices, they are showing us how to utilize alchemy within ourselves to open ourselves up to that godhood. And just like Lucifer's Raphael, who teaches you how to enter the kingdom of Satanas, or that of, say, Zaniel, the teacher of witchcraft. You go into, say, for example, Aguileret, the keeper of the sacred tomes, who you go through to get to Humet or Humot, the infernal librarian, who can bring you any text that you need or desire. Okay, and then you have Sarath, the sun god. He's a portion of the sun god, much like Lucifer, the morning star, Venus. And you can see this through the Necronomicon as well, not only by Lovecraft or Simon, but also going back into the Mad Arab himself back in the day and seeing where they traveled from and when, the time of the year. So all of the stuff that I just mentioned is right here in these books. And it's very, very interesting to see where they lead you. Not only from a mythological point of view, but from a historical and art point of view, the perception of it. You know, I've got a photo over here that my mother, and I'm going to show you real fast. And I want you to take a look at it, because let's see if I can get it here. There you go. You should be able to see it. See the chessboard with the angel and the demon playing chess. Okay? Now, what's ironic about this is that Native Americans have a theory, I guess you can call it a theory, as to two wolves waging war over your soul. And the one thing I've noticed in demonolatry is that the more you get into it, the further into it you get, the further away you get from the divisions and the diversities. It's like somebody's ripping that veil back and opening up your eyes, removing the scales. And what's interesting in this is you see firsthand the world, the divisions, the adversities, the fakes, the phonies, but you also see the scammers, and you see the ones that Anton Zander LaVey so colorfully put as psychic vampires. Psychic vampires. The vampirism, not to be mistaken with the energy suckers who practice psychic vampirism. Okay, within an art form, these people drain the life out of you because all they want is your knowledge. They're takers. They're give. They'll take and take and take, and they never give back. Okay, that's the difference between them. But these grimoires here not only discuss how to summon them, but also the time of the day that they can be utilized, the time of the week, the time of the day, the time of the year, what sigil to use, what sigillium that you can put down to summon them planetary wise. Like, say, for example, Jupiter would be good for Lucifer's Raphael. Whereas, say, for example, the dark god, as Orion within Zoroastrianism, or Satan out of Hebrew, okay? Lucifer out of Roman mythology, okay? Hades in Greek, Set in Egyptian, okay? And the list goes on. You can actually see these dark deities, these ones that are classified as being evil, harmful, baneful, would be classified as being summoned underneath Saturn. Okay, and the time of that you would do a ritual would be on the need or the classification of that desired ritual that you want to perform, such as, let's say, for example, you want to wage war. Okay, so under Saturn, look for Aries. Okay, Mars, the god of war. Okay, if it's love, then you want to go with Venus. If it's alchemy based, you want to go with Mercury, okay, and such. If you want enlightenment, go with the sun god like Apollo, Ra, Inti, okay, and then you want to associate that with the sun. Now, if you want to work with the goddess herself, like Lilith and Anna, um, Hecate, Rish Kagal, Persephone, you know, these type of goddesses, then the best way to do that would be underneath the feminine moon, the moon goddesses, such as Diana, okay? Or, say, for example, Venus itself, the moon. Very, very, there's a lot of information just within these books alone that I would recommend, okay? Now, you can actually find these books on Amazon, eBay. You may be able to find them in a cult store, even. Order them through Books of a Million, maybe Barnes and Nobles, you know. So, I mean, you can literally find what you're looking for if you take the time to look for it. Remember, the term occult means hidden, whereas gnosis is also associated with that. Now, a lot of people get gnosis mixed up with occultism because when we look at occultism versus gnosis means hidden knowledge within yourself, okay? You're awakening that knowledge within you through these rituals, these rites, okay? These beings are simply helping you and teaching you and guiding you to unlock that knowledge, okay? But the more you utilize the power, the more you delve into it, the better off you'll be because the more powerful you will become, all right? And I'll be touching more on grimoires as time goes on, but I will also be touching on rituals and astrology. Okay, so keep that in mind. And until next time, I'm Michael Hyson, aka Angelus, son of Abaddon, and I'm a traditional Satanist and career black magician and necromancer. So Hope you like this channel. I hope that it's been educational and enlightening. And I do hope that you go out and get these books and start learning for yourself. Take the time to study them, read between the lines, and get that feel for rituals, either invocations or evocations. You know, it's up to you on what you're comfortable with doing. All right. With that said, have a good night, and until next time.